So speculating right now, just speculating, because it's driving me crazy. What do you think, if this is true, we're just saying if this is true, if we're being visited by something,
Yeah.
what could be so powerfully devastating that these keepers of the secrets have literally, all of them, pretty much stopped at the same place and talking with me and George, which is like, I am not for disclosure on this. There's something they're not telling us that is so heavy. What?
Well, it could be a bunch of things, right? It could be the fact that they do want to get control of the technology before enemies do. That makes sense. But it also could be the genetic engineering thing, because there's a weird thing with human beings and lower primates. The lower primates are all still around, and there was a bunch of different kinds of humans that didn't make it, Neanderthal and Denisovan, and there's a bunch of other ones that they keep discovering new ones. But, God, there's a giant leap between us and the other primates, a weird one. Real weird. We vary so wildly in terms of how we look. We vary so wildly in the environments that we can live in. We have hyper intelligence in comparison to everything else that's on the planet, like giant leaps above in terms of our ability to manipulate our environment. We're not like anything else. And, the thing about when you look at us and you look at primates, you go, oh, yeah, we're similar. When you look at us and you look at chimps, you look at, bonobos and stuff, you're like, yeah, I guess humans are kind of similar to those in a little bit. Like you've watched Chimp Empire, that show on Netflix.
Yeah.
But, boy, big fucking difference, and they're still around. They're still around looking exactly the same. And we somehow or another advance to this very bizarre thing that flies around in metal tubes all over the planet and sends video through space. Well, we're so much different than them. And, they are our ancient ancestors, right? They're our ancient cousins. Like, what happened?
Would people freak out if that story came out, if it was
I think
confirmed?
it would. Well, I think it would really throw a monkey wrench into religion for sure. You'd have to I think religion would probably adapt, and, that this was also created by God and these are messengers of God or something like that. They would probably come up with some sort of, if that turned out to be absolutely true. But, the doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years is the biggest mystery in the entire fossil record, apparently. And they don't know. There's a bunch of speculation, a lot of, questions and guesses and, different things that we could have done that could have facilitated that. But that's a big one, man. That's a weird one.
So
it's
I got
weird.
A question about that, right? So this is something I'm struggling with. Like, could you tell the general public that the base understanding, that we're not alone, that there's some craft from somewhere else, we don't even have to say from where, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell them, could you say that to the public officially in some way and still avoid what they call strategic surprise, like this idea that we can work on it and work on it really well and make sure that we don't get strategically surprised by another nation. You could keep your security in place. Could you do all of that if you let the one thing out the box, if it was officially acknowledged that we're not alone? Or do you think people would just start going crazy for more answers? Because I think that's the fear of people. They can't just say one thing.
I think in today's day and age, with the news cycle that we have now, where things are just in the public eye, instantaneously, nothing sticks, everything keeps moving. There's scandals and wars constantly. I don't think it would register. I think people would have to have actual physical encounters with UFOs before it really made sense to them. Because I think right now it's just this idea. It's in the air. It's vapor. It's just like you could talk about it if you like. You could read about it if you'd like. You could watch blurry videos if you'd like. But it doesn't have any weight in your real world. Now, if we start seeing them, if they're like hovering over Los Angeles and they're undescribable and they rocket off into insane speeds and smaller crafts come out of the mothership, and if that kind of shit happens, that would get real weird. That would get real weird real quick, and that could lead to chaos. That could absolutely lead to chaos. And if we somehow or another had proof that, maybe we are some sort of a science project or some product of genetic engineering, or maybe the the human farm thing is real, that they literally created us to try to get us to do things here or to try to recreate souls, which is like a very bizarre thought. You know, that the soul is a thing that we
A
carry
commodity.
around,
A commodity.
and that there's some sort of value to having so many souls.
That's like, oh, this is old school. This is my gateway drug into UFOs was John Lear. And first time I sit down with him, you know, he's like got this big cigar and he's looking at me and he's like, we're all property. We're property. You know, I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And he was talking about how the aliens saw us as kind of like a wine and our bodies are containers and our souls are being matured as like a commodity. You know, for these, like he was a wild dude. Like I'm not saying I believe any of this. I'm just saying he gave me that idea day
When
one.
he said matured, like, is a soul of an intelligent person more valuable than the soul of a dummy?
I wish we could ask John Lear, but he's dead.
You know what I'm saying? What does that mean in terms of like aging our souls, maturing our souls?
Maybe through experience, you know, like hardship experience, love, joy. Like maybe
Wow.
I'm just talking crazy right now, but this is I can do the John Lear. John would say every experience you have in life is what makes your soul mature. From your joy and your love to your hate and your anger. Live without envy, hate, or greed. That's my John Lear impression. Yeah, he was
well,
a
it
wild.
makes sense. If your soul is ultimately a representation of who you are and how you stand in life, it would make sense that would be fortified by your life experiences, and it would make it stronger, like everything else. You know, like your life experiences make you wiser. Wouldn't, if the soul's a real thing, you know, the more value you put into the world, the better you behave, the nicer you are, the more you learn to be honest and truthful, all the different things that we hold up as high qualities for human beings. It would make sense that would like enrich your soul.
And just